My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American.
Welcome, everybody. My name's Elena Barbera, and you might know me as the Base Mother. And tonight is my very first show with the Patriots Prayer, and I will be digging in on things like American cultural decline, politics, news, faith, morality, family, the usual stuff for me. Tonight I'll be covering a couple of Turks who busted their legs jumping over the border wall. So, you know, of course, an anti-God woke feminist article from the New York Times, the usual fare, and the Supreme Court's decision to keep abortion pills available, plus some other stuff. So let's get to it. Here's a sneak peek of an Instagram reel I'm releasing tomorrow about those Turks I mentioned with the broken legs. Take a look. You hear the one about the two Turks who fell off the border wall while they were breaking into America and they broke their legs? Yeah, it's true. I'm not sure how they made it to the Mexican-American border from Turkey, but things must be so very, very bad in Turkey that they swam across the Atlantic just to get to Mexico and sneak into America with the help of their highly paid coyote smuggler, who must not have been paid enough because he only gave them a ladder to get up one side of the wall and then they had to jump off the other side. And then, you know, the old legs got busted. This is no joke, but there is a punchline. Every time these people breaking and entering get hurt, we, meaning you and me, the American taxpayers, are shelling out about $300,000 a pop for their medical costs. Are all your medical needs up to date? You got those new glasses? All your dental work done? The kids got their new braces? Nah? Well, you know, why don't you stop by and sign the Turks' new casts? That might cheer you up. Good times. Oh, guys, so, like, how do you like knowing that your tax dollars are paying bills, medical bills, and housing and food and transportation and all that for people who are breaking into America? I mean, our politicians, they're just feeding us lie after lie, that people like this, they're destitute, they're in danger, and they're just lovely asylum seekers. And next week, I'm going to actually be getting into how lovely these people are. But for now, I'd really like to just focus on the Benjamins. I'm looking at flights from Turkey to Mexico because, yeah, I'm being sarcastic. Obviously, they didn't swim. They're averaging about $1,000 a piece. Then once you're there, you've got to get around, you got to eat, you got to need somewhere to sleep. But, you know, you could do that on the cheap. So, like, I won't even account for that. It's freebie. Then it comes the big cost, the coyote bill. That's the cost of someone to lead you to the border, a professional smuggler. That comes in at around $5,000 to $7,000 a person. So these two Turks alone spent roughly 15 grand to get from their home so they could break into our home. And we're supposed to believe that they're worse off than us. I know there's more than one measure, you know, to life and quality of life than money, but money's a big one. When was the last time you had an extra $15K laying around to go on a vacation or do something, anything you just felt like for your family? I'm not talking about a credit card or a loan. I'm talking cash, because coyotes, they don't work on credit. If you're like most Americans, you don't have that kind of cash. 56% of us have less than $1,000 in savings. 32% of Americans don't even have $500 in the bank. Most Americans couldn't afford to take a train ride across America, never mind jump over the ocean and hire a smuggler. We are worse off than these Turks, and Joe Biden just keeps piling them onto our backs. I don't like them apples at all. I don't know how we're going to keep handling this as a nation. But, you know, let's move on. I've got another story for you here. So it's time for some truth to be told, because this is where I want to shed some light on big lies being told by our trusty politicians and our mainstream media. This week, as you may know, the Supreme Court secured the availability of the drug mifepristone, which is also known as an abortion pill. The pills, are secure for now, but I'm sure there will be more challenges coming. And this decision, sparked, a whole outcry from Democrats and pro-abortionists to launch this big coordinated press and social media campaign where they've been, carrying on about how necessary these pills are and how glorious they are and incredibly important for women. Let me show you Ayanna Pressley, the squad member from Massachusetts. She's a monster. She used to be my congresswoman, and I'm very glad to say that she's not anymore. Well, she's still there. I left. She tweeted about the pills. She says they are safe, effective, legal. So she definitely has a new tone to her tweets. I think she hired a new intern and everything has gotten really catchy like this. But they've actually gotten stupider and stupider at the same time because, and I'm going to tell you why it's also terrible. For starters, you'll notice that politicians like these, they always put a grain of truth in their tweets, in their lies. So if one small sliver is true, that's enough for their followers. The followers don't look into it and see, is all of this true? And that's very, very convenient for these politicians when they're trying to manipulate the American people. So let's break this down. Safe is the biggest lie of the safe, effective, legal tweet, but I'm going to save that one for last. I'm going to start with legal. For now, these pills are indeed legal. That's true. But lots of things have been legal, but aren't necessarily good or right. Like slavery. I'm sure that Ayanna would agree that even though slavery was perfectly legal at one point, it wasn't right and it was immoral. So we had to make it illegal. And don't come at me with abortion pills are moral and a woman's right to reproductive health. Wait until I at least tell you the worst part, which is coming. Anyway, let's move on to effective. Let's stick with the slavery analogy. Southern plantation owners thought that slave labor was pretty damn effective for keeping their profit margins up, didn't they? But alas, we overlooked the effectiveness in that case too, because it was immoral. Again, there's a theme here. Why do I think this effective legal drug is immoral? Well, it ends the natural development of about 500,000 children in America every year. That's just the pill. That doesn't include surgical abortion. But the real terrible part is that most of the time, these pill abortions happen at home, and these aborted fetuses are just flushed into American sewers and septic tanks. Sewers and septic tanks. Now, Ayanna leaves that out. She doesn't want you to realize that abortion went from being billed as unfortunate and rare to now we're tossing 500,000 babies' bodies into our wastewater. She doesn't talk about that. She leaves that out. Like, what are we doing? Who have we become? We've gone off the rails in this country. So here's the part where the flat out lies about mifepristone come in. Our lefty politicians insist that it's safe. Well, it's not. According to the Mayo Clinic, studies haven't been performed on how the drugs affect the pediatric population. And I'm talking about pregnant girls who are 17 and under. So there's no safety or efficacy has been established. It's legal to give them the pills, but we don't know what it does to them in the short term or the long term. So yeah, just to hell with them. Yeah, but Ayanna says, give it to your daughter. It's fine. Okay. The Mayo Clinic also says there are no adequate studies for how this affects the babies of breastfeeding women. So, okay, so breastfeeding a baby, get pregnant, want to get rid of the baby in my belly, take the poison and continue to breastfeed the baby. But there's no study been done to see how does that affect the already born child. Literally, nobody knows. Nobody knows how this affects the child. But Ayana insists it's safe. I can't deal with this. Like, this is just too much. There's a laundry list of drug interaction problems that could happen. Laundry list. But we're not going to talk about those. That would take an hour. So then you get a situation with these abortion pills when you may need to have a procedure to stop excessive vaginal bleeding or to terminate a pregnancy if the pills didn't work. The list goes on and on and on. But here's the real kicker. This is the good stuff that Ayanna Pressley will never tell you. A 20-year study, 20 years these pills have been around. It's posted on the National Institute of Health, a government website, and it says that significant morbidity and mortality rates have occurred following the use of mifepristone. The FDA adverse event reporting system is inadequate and significantly underestimates the adverse events from mifepristone. So there's a significant chance you can die from this drug, but Ayanna wants your daughter to take it. Don't you love our politicians? They just stand there and say that they have your best interest at heart. I don't know if she's making money on it. I don't know if she's just Satan. I think she's Satan, but that's what I really think. But I don't know for sure. But I do know that these pills, even though they're legal and they're effective at killing babies, they're not safe, and women shouldn't go anywhere near them. All right, guys. I am going to be right back after a very, very quick commercial break, like less than a minute. Be right back.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
All right, guys, I'm back. All right, look at this picture here. I have to say I am a little jealous of my fellow Patriots Prayer hosts tonight. Eddie and Maurice are in Detroit, Michigan for the People's Convention being put on by Turning Point Action. And they're going to get to see speakers like Donald Trump, Don Jr.'s there, Ben Carson, Candace Owens, Tulsi Gabbard, like everybody who's anybody in the conservative space is there. And I am very psyched to be here with you on this Friday night, but also truly, I cannot wait to hear the stories they are going to come home with and on their next show. So make sure that you pay close attention next week and follow along on their Twitter all weekend, because you're going to see some cool stuff, no doubt. All right, let's get back to it. I can't wait to tell you about this. So you already know this one, that next week, America here, we get to celebrate Juneteenth. That is, if we haven't completely choked to death on pride flags by then. So it's on June 19th, and it commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. And like that itself is a big deal, of course, no problem there. But we all know the creation of this holiday is just Democrat pandering and meant to divide us up into like angry little groups. And they even officially, I just learned this today, and it really kind of bugged me out, but they officially named the day Juneteenth National Independence Day. Because why would we celebrate Independence Day as a united nation on July 4th, like as we always have, when we could be divided up by race and all have our own national anthems and all that, like they've been doing for years? It's really, it's wonderful, isn't it? Everybody's having such a good time in America these days. So anyway, so last week, the White House held a big expensive party at our expense. That was very nice of us. And it was loaded with all like cheerful, smiling racism we've come to expect from these people. I'm going to ask you to suffer through this short Kamala Harris clip with me.
Wednesday, across our nation, Americans will come together with generations of loved ones to celebrate Juneteenth, to celebrate Black excellence and leadership, culture, and community, resilience and resistance, and to remember our nation's history in full.
She, of course, has to celebrate resistance, not unity and actual progress. Oddly enough, when white people resist these days, they end up in federal prison. But, we're not going there today. I'll save that for the guys. All right, so the Veep also had the audacity to say that we'd be celebrating our nation's history in full. In full? Huh? No, she didn't celebrate it in full. Celebrating the ending of slavery in full would also mean celebrating the people who gave their lives to end slavery and save America. I'm talking about the 360,000 Union soldiers who died in the Civil War. Like, surely, if she wanted to celebrate our nation's history in full, she would have invited at least one of their ancestors to the party. No? But no. Not only did she not invite them, to the best of my knowledge, they didn't even mention them. As usual, this was like all just the race baiting, victimhood, anger, and division. And they cover it all up with big smiles and a star-studded pretend celebration. There were all these celebrities there. I mean, I don't care that people have their own celebration, but this truly is about dividing us, and we know it and we see it, and there's hatred and venom in it, and we're not moving in the right direction at all. But Donald Trump's going to destroy the country. All right, let's see what else we got here. This is my first time doing this, guys. I don't know. This is a lot going on here. I'm like so psyched to see that there's several hundred of you here, truly. Oh, this next thing. All right. So this next thing here that I want to talk to you about, this gets a little bit heavy. So, I have a special issue that I talk about all these cultural issues, but there's one particular that I really focus heavily on, and it is our children. So I want to talk to you about something that is going on in American schools. You may or may not know that I made a documentary called American Groomer. I kept seeing mainstream media reports of book bans, and books were being banned by crazed right-wing extremists. Scary. So I looked into it, and of course, I'm not in favor of censorship. So I wanted to know what was going on, and it turns out that no one is banning books. In fact, they're getting porn out of schools. And when I say porn, I'm not exaggerating. Here's a clip from the film. This is a reading from a book that's in middle schools across the country. Like it keeps showing up in more and more and more. I'm talking about 50 states.
I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on. You will fit my favorite dildo perfectly.
You are going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside me.
This gotta get out. I love all kind of people, all genders. He, she, straight, bisexual, gay, whatever, but this is wrong for a child to see that right now.
Are you wondering that's pretty sick, right? That's not even the worst of the books. I could read to you some really even more horrible stuff. I'll save that for another night, though. Are you wondering how this is even possible? Let me just show you one more super short clip from the film. Give you an idea. When I talked to Terry Schilling in DC, I left shocked by what he told me.
This all started with Alfred Kinsey and the Kinsey Institute. They started pushing these laws. 37 states have what's called obscenity exemption statutes, and that allows them to put pornographic books in schools. So what's happening is you can be in a school and show children in a classroom books like Genderqueer, books like Let's Talk About It, whatever porn it is, doesn't matter. You can show it to them. But if you walk outside that school to the playground up across the park and you show those same children the same material, you'll be arrested. We have a nonsensical system where the institutions with authority are able to deliver the most damage and abuse to our children.
I'm in shock.
If you or I gave it to kids in school, parents would have us locked up. It's literally sexual abuse of children.
Yep. I'm going to repeat what he just said. So if I show pornography to a child in a coffee shop or the mall, I'm leaving in handcuffs. But if I cross the threshold into a school and show it to them there, I'm protected by the law, and I have basically a get out of jail free card. And that's in 39 states. But even in the states where it is, you don't have that legal protection, it's still happening because nobody is enforcing it. And the reasons for that are, there's a lot in the movie. It's only 36 minutes. If you want to know how bad it is and you want to know how we got here, please watch it. And do not be fooled into thinking that this is a blue state versus a red state issue. I hear it all the time. Oh, those crazy libs. No. All 50 states. One of the biggest problems is in Texas. Its roots of the history of how this happened go back to the Truman administration. We're talking about the 40s. This is how long and slow of a burn this has been to now we have like vulgar erotica, violent S&M in our middle and high schools. You know what? Actually, let's go to hell in a handbasket. I'm going to read you from one book. I happen to have it on my phone because this is what I deal with now. This is how I'm spending my time. This is from a book called Court of Mist and Fury by, I think the author is Sarah Moss, if I'm not mistaken. And again, middle schools. You were 11 when you started middle school. And imagine you pick this up off the shelf and you want to talk to the librarian about it. His tongue swept my mouth again, in time to the finger that he slipped inside of me. Yes, this is embarrassing for me to read, but you need to know the truth. My hips undulated, demanding more, craving the fullness of him, and his growl reverberated in my chest as he added another finger. Tamlin, I begged. He palmed my breast, his thumb flicking over my nipple. I cried out, and he buried himself in me with a mighty stroke. Erotica in our schools. We're graduating kids from high school who can't read, literally cannot read. But we're spending time on this. And not to mention that it's just like, it's grooming. It's non-contact sexual abuse, which grooms kids and gets them ready for contact sexual abuse. Uh-oh, I'm going off on a tangent now. Yes, 3 things happen when kids are groomed. 1, they sexually abuse each other, and things happen that they're not ready for and they don't understand. 2, they are primed and ready to be sexually abused by a creepo adult in their life, or there's a coach, a teacher, an uncle, a sibling. I mean, there's any number of things. And they're all ready for it. And 3, they're easier prey for online sexual predators and sex traffickers. So they're just like ready to go. You start talking about this with kids, they think it's normal. Anyway, I hate it. And the film is quick. It's packed with more horrible stuff like I just shared with you. And I hope you'll watch it, and I hope you'll ruin your day, and it'll make you as angry as it makes me. I say that tongue in cheek, but I mean it. I want people to be angry and to start standing up to these teachers and the teachers unions and the American Library Association and the politicians who are doing this to our children. You can watch that at AmericanGroomerFilm.com, and you can find that on all my social media. I'm at the Base Mother on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that. So you can find the link to the film if you want to watch it. It's free, because I could have put it behind a paywall. We had to pay a few bucks, but it's too important. Like, this knowledge has to get out there. We need people talking about this. And this needs to be an election issue, in my opinion, because our kids are just doomed at this point. All right, I got one more thing for you. Oh, this one. So I want you guys to know that there are things that I will do for people watching my content that causes me to suffer for you, and I'm going to add a segment every week to this show called the New York Times. I read this crap so you don't have to. And tonight I'll be focusing on an op-ed entitled "Young Women Are Fleeing Organized Religion. This was predictable." Here, let's see. Let me show you the woke artwork and the whole 9 here that we got. Yeah, I literally read these things just to see what is going on in the counterculture, or should I say the main culture. I guess I'm the counterculture because I'm not subscribing to feminism and gender mutilation of children. I'm such a freak. Anyway, so this piece explains that young women are disaffiliating with the churches they were raised in because the churches are veering right and they're retrogressive with their view of women. Yeah, they're not veering anywhere. They're sitting still and you're turning into lunatics, but okay. So they called one church ultra conservative for barring women from being pastors. Then the author quoted a 2020. It was so great because this article, like, I don't get into it, was just so uninformed about Christianity and the church. So she quoted this 2021 article that proclaimed that women should submit to their husbands, like as if that's some brand new idea that they just pulled out of nowhere because they hate women. So she blames conservative politics on this, and you are never going to guess. Never going to guess. In this article, she also blamed Donald Trump because they can't do anything without Donald Trump's name coming out of their mouth. They can't talk about religion, politics, food. It's all about Donald Trump, and I think it's hilarious. Anyway, it's not about Donald Trump. The real reason young women have turned from God isn't politics or Trump. It is about self-worship. We've become a nation that is self-idolatrous, and we just think that me is a God. And feminism has brainwashed young women into thinking that they know better than anyone, even God, if they even believe in God. So let me unpack some of this. This submitting to a husband thing. I realize that submission can sound bad, like especially in a society like ours where we're taught to follow our heart and love ourselves above all. Terrible advice, by the way. But submission is misunderstood. I acknowledge that it sounds like really icky to me when I think of, submitting to someone or something that I don't respect, like, for instance, the current administration of the White House. Like, ew, right? I don't want those people running any part of my life. But when we're talking about submission in the biblical sense, we're talking about submitting to God, not because we're his slaves, but because we're his children, and his ways are far, far better than our ways. Like, we're kind of rotten at the core, if we don't follow the morality laid out by God. What are we doing? We're flushing babies into sewers. Like, look at us. Look at us when we're left to our own devices. Anyway, when we submit to God, we trust what he wants for us. And he did say in the Bible that women should submit to their husbands, but not like mean jerk husbands who treat their wives like slaves. The men are also commanded to be a certain way. They must love their wife the way Jesus loves the church, with his whole heart, lighting her path, providing for her, protecting, comforting, suffering with her, and even suffering for her. Like, when a man acts like that, like, is it really too much to ask that a woman treats him with honor and puts him in a higher place? It's not. But these young women have gotten like so turned off by submission that they can't see straight. They've shoved off God, they've shoved off strong, godly men, and they've married the idea of being a boss babe who's actually just beholden to corporate America and the government instead, like neither of which will ever love her back. And it's, this stuff's been in practice for 2,000 years. Like, Donald Trump didn't invent it. And considering that young women are more miserable, stressed, and depressed than they have ever been, they might want to reconsider their thoughts on the Bible and their understanding of that submission. And the second point I want to make is on the headline itself. So, young women are fleeing organized religion. This was predictable. And the predictable part is really hilarious. So we've got some irony here because the author doesn't realize how right she is about the fact that this was predictable. She just thinks that she's smarter than Christians and can see the writing on the wall way better than anyone. She actually said in the article that American religion is a story of constant change. And I think it would be better for society and healthier for church attendance for denominations to evolve. So she thinks that God's word should bend to her will, or to the will of culture, whims, that we know better than God, that culture knows better than God. And the Bible predicted this kind of nonsense thinking 2,000 years ago. So St. Paul was writing a letter to Timothy, who was a young pastor in the very early church. And, he tried to explain to Timothy why, it's really important to keep your head and stay true to God's word. He told Timothy, and I do have this piece of scripture memorized miraculously, for the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from truth and will turn aside to myth. And wow, do we not see that happening in our culture? We see churches accepting transgenderism instead of, the God made one man, one woman. We see, these young women, thinking that they know better than anything because they've been convinced that their careers are more important than being an integral part of raising a solid society. Look at society. It's gone off a cliff since more and more women entered the workforce. Societal collapse has just accelerated off the cliff. Young women sold into the slavery of self-idolatry and boss babedom. I know there's a lot more to say about this, but that's all I'm gonna say on that particular thing for now. I will say I'm going to take a look and see. I want to take a look and see if there are any comments here in the chat. I'm not actually sure how the chat works, because like I said, I'm new here. Oh, here we go. You're here. Fashionably late. Okay, so you want to hear a funny story? Yes. I actually did 11 minutes of this before I realized that I had not started the stream. So I talked for 11 minutes and then just kind of felt like, I don't know, something my intuition told me to just check. And the button said go live. I hit the button wrong. So yeah, that's why I was late, because I was here talking to myself. Yeah. Oof. The coyotes are rapey. Yes, the coyotes who are bringing these people across the country, across, through the desert in Mexico and to the border wall. We know that this is like a massive sex trafficking operation. Young girls are showing up raped and pregnant. It's a nightmare. Joe Biden has so much blood on his hands for just letting this go rampant like that. I don't know that we'll ever really know the extent of the damage to humanity that this man has caused. It's pretty like Hitler level, honestly. It's that bad. All right, what else we got here? Anybody else have any questions or anything for me? Oh, the fire extinguisher behind me. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So old-fashioned fire extinguishers will run with, I believe, like some mixture of vinegar and baking soda. And mine is not loaded. It does not work. It's just there and they're brass and beautiful. It's just there for show. In Arizona, somebody is saying, if you observe sexual assault against a minor, lethal force is legal. Oh gosh, I really hope that's true. You just made my day. I really hope that is true. The left knows how to play the long game. Yes, but it's funny because human nature is starting to kick in and people are starting to push back and say, all right, they've gone too far. So now they're not playing a long game anymore. Now they're in this frenzy to just completely destroy our society. I don't know if you've noticed that, but you're right. They did play a long game for a long time, 60, 70 years. Now it's a complete frenzy. It's interesting. Big picture is the demons are among us. Yes. Orange man bad. Yeah, I know. You'd rather submit to your wife. She's more fun. Okay. Well, if that's your choice, but maybe choose God too, both of you. All right, guys. I think I got all the comments here. So, this was really fun, and I am so excited that you came and joined me here for my first ever Patriots Prayer show. Next week, I'm going to have some guests, and we're going to keep it moving. We're going to be here. I'm going to be here a little bit longer. And I might, I'm going to try to pop in here and there during the week on the other shows because I really love these guys. They're so, everybody on this channel brings something different to the table. But the one thread that's common in all of us is we all love this country. We all love God. And we are here to, put information out, let people know that they're not alone in their thinking. Because I think people are still just kind of afraid to tell you the truth. And one of my missions is not only to save our children from the grooming that's happening in our public schools, but that's my fight for my country. But I also want to encourage people who are like me. I'm just a regular person, and I have decided that I am not afraid to speak up because I can't let it. I keep saying, like, how bad does it have to get before your reasons for staying quiet, like, you look at them and they start to look flimsy, because they are flimsy. Oh, I don't want to insult my neighbor, or I don't want to, if I speak up and I make problems, it's going to be weird for my son on his soccer team. Like, oh, shut up. Your country's on fire. Like, do something. How bad does it have to get? Like, do we have to be warring in the streets? Like, we're getting closer to that. Before you speak up and say something, please, like, everybody, let's encourage your neighbors to get involved. Pick a fight, whether it's fighting for the children with me, whether it's fighting against illegal immigration, fighting these liberal policies. Pick something. Let's save this country. All right, please. Thank you for coming. Please, click like, drop a sub, and I hope you'll see me. We'll be here again next Friday night at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. And now that I know where the go live button is, I'm going to be on time next time. I promise. I'll see you then. Good night, guys, and God bless America. All right, now let's see if I can find the end stream button. I need help here, guys. Good night.